I'm Kristin from Real Simple. We are here today in my home kitchen where I'm going to be cooking one of the recipes from our Month of Dinners feature. Today I'm cooking lamb with escarole and chickpeas, which I'm really excited about for two reasons. One, I have 3 sons and a husband, and they all are huge meat eaters, and they all like lamb, shockingly. And number 2, because although I've made a lot of lamb, I have never actually made lamb chops, and this is a lamb chop recipe. So we will see how it goes. So the first thing you want to do is shred a head of escarole. I find it easiest when I'm shredding any kind of green like this just to cut the whole bottom off and discard that. So you shred the escarole. When you're finished with the escarole, you move on to the garlic. What I have here is 4 cloves of garlic, which need to be smashed. The easiest way I found to do this is I just use the heel of my knife to kind of lightly, you can feel the garlic kind of breaking under the heel of your knife, and that makes it easier to peel. But then I have to use a smaller knife to cut off the ends. And then when it's time to actually smash it for the recipe, you take your big heavy knife again, your chef's knife, and I just use the handle. You obviously have to be a little careful of the sharp edge. And then you get a nice smashed clove of garlic. Okay, so once you've smashed all your garlic, you want to rinse your chickpeas. This is 1 can. I've actually rinsed them already, but you always want to rinse beans like this to get the extra salt off. And now it's time to start cooking. I've got my Dutch oven, which I'm going to turn the heat of my stove onto medium. And you want to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. If you're really expert, you can eyeball it. If I'm following a recipe, I like to really follow the recipe, actually. 1 head of torn escarole, you add it to your hot olive oil. With your smashed garlic, 1/2 teaspoon of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. This I do kind of actually eyeball because a 1/4 teaspoon is not very much. 1/4 cup of a dry white wine. Now, depending on how picky you are about wine, I actually cheat this sometimes. I'll sort of use whatever's in my refrigerator unless it's really sweet. But obviously you don't need to spend a lot of money on the wine you're just going to use to cook your escarole. And now mix this all together. So you want to let your escarole cook for 8 to 10 minutes, stirring it occasionally. While that's cooking, you can start on your lamb chops. So you need a big skillet. Turn the heat to medium-high. And here we have 8 chops for 4 people. And you need 1/2 teaspoon of oregano and 1/4 teaspoon each of salt and pepper. So I'm not sure the Real Simple Food Department, if they're watching, would approve. But when I'm mixing spices like this, if I know I need to do a rub or any kind of seasoning, I mix them all beforehand because I think it's easier. And then you just flip them over and do the other side, which to me just seems faster and easier, which is always a benefit in the kitchen, unless it compromises your results. So by now my skillet is nice and hot. This skillet is, I think, after my husband, children, and dog, the most important thing in this household. I use it even when recipes call for a nonstick pan. So I can tell my oil is ready because it's starting to shimmer a little bit in the pan, which means it's time to add the lamb chops. Now, depending on the size of your pan, you might have to do this in batches. Once you place the meat down, you don't want to pick it up until it releases from the pan. If you give your lamb chops a little nudge and they're still really sticky, it means it's not time to turn them over yet. So while my chops are cooking, I'm going to check on the escarole. It looks pretty tender. So the one final step with the escarole is to add the chickpeas. So here we just want to heat them through, which should just take a minute or 2 over medium heat. Okay. And the chops are looking beautiful. Again, it's 4 to 6 minutes aside for medium rare. And really, it's just a very, very simple 1-plate dinner. You just want to put some of your escarole and chickpeas, surrounding your lamb chops. And you have a beautiful dinner.